Welcome, everybody, to a screening and an afterword and a Q&A with the filmmakers from the film Finding Yingying. It's a documentary made by Jenny Shin, and she is here with Brent Huffman, who's one of the producers, and Shilin Sun, who was a co-producer and cinematographer on the movie. I watched the movie yesterday and really enjoyed it. Before that, I just actually want to thank the Tallgrass organizers of the film festival for putting this all together, which, you know, has to be a very difficult undertaking for anybody to do something like this in this year at this time. And I know they're still working to make this happen, and we'll be working right through the end of the festival to make sure everything is good and everybody can be seen and heard in all these video virtual chat rooms. So, and we'd also like to thank the Tallgrass sponsors. My name is Rob Garver. I'm a filmmaker, and I was at the festival last year, in just about a year ago now, for my film, What She Said, The Art of Pauline Kael, which was also a feature documentary. So I guess I'd like to start out and just express my feeling about the film. I mean, it really broke me up. I mean, I don't cry in a lot of movies, and this one really got to me. And just watching Yingying's story, and you know, how somebody who was so sincere and just a good person could be just have her, you know, her life taken away. It's not right. And you know, she I guess made one bad choice in a moment, and probably we all have those moments, and especially when we're young, you know, we're more trusting, and you just wish you could turn the clock back and not accept that ride. But you know, that is what happened. And so the story of the film is heartbreaking, and Jenny, I just think you did a wonderful job in telling her story, and kind of you know, being non-judgmental in a way, and going through step by step the whole process of how she was you know, initially searched for, and how they found the culprit, and especially the story with Jenny's parents, you know, and their life in China. And it was great that you made the effort to really be there in those moments when it seemed, you know, it was just, I'll mention that a little bit later, but there were a couple of scenes where they were just kind of amazing that you were there, and they obviously trusted you, and that was great to see. So what I wanted to ask you, I guess, first is, how did you come onto this story? It says in the film that you were both at, I guess, Peking University in 2016, but it seems like maybe you didn't know each other, and then somehow you both ended up in Illinois, and you were a journalism student, and she was, you know, studying ecology and science. So I wasn't clear if you knew her at Peking University or not, but how did this film come about? You initially started, it seems, interested as a journalist, not as a filmmaker. Was that something that changed as you got into the story?
Yeah, so Ying and I, we didn't know each other. We never met each other before. It was in the summer of 2017. I think just one day I received a message on my WeChat, which is a very popular social media in China. So someone is saying that, you know, there was a girl, a Chinese student, who went missing at University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. And I would say at that time, it was really huge among the Chinese international students. So everyone was just spreading the word. And Shilin, who's later became the co-producer and the cinematographer of the film, at the time, he was a student at U of I. So he was also one of the volunteers who's searching for Yingying and also making all these flyers and sending them out to different places in Champaign. And when I first learned that, I also post the flyer on my social media on Facebook. And just like everyone else, as Chinese student, we were trying to find her. Even though I was studying in Chicago, which was like 2 hours drive from where she went missing, that the Urbana-Champaign area. But people, I mean, there are other people like just going down Champaign, and especially after Ying's parents arrived in the US, I did see many like local Chinese and Chinese, I think, community around that area, just visiting them and try to see what they could do to help them, like delivering food, help with translation, things like that. And I would say like I first came down, went down there just trying to see what I could do for them. And, I didn't have a lot of money, and I was still studying at Northwestern University, and I was brand student at that time. So I couldn't really stay with the family for a long time, but I would try to meet them, once a week. And later on, I just, thought about what I could do to help them. And I was starting a documentary journalism class at that time, and I had camera. So I was thinking about maybe I can start capturing stuff. And Shilin, he was one of the volunteers, and I talked to him, and he was interested, in helping me document everything. And that's how we started.
I see. And so how far along did you get into the movie before you knew that, this was going to be something that you wanted to make into a whole, to take the parts that you were assembling and really make something out of it?
Yeah. So I would say like in the first 3 weeks, that was before the police caught a suspect. So we didn't know anything the first 3 weeks. And I was just capturing footage, like volunteers in Urbana-Champaign and the press conference, things like that. And I think one day the police announced that they caught the guy and they didn't think he is still alive. And for me, that's a lot. And, before that, everyone was thinking, maybe we could find Yingying very soon. But after that, we did see there's something, coming up more than just, she went missing, things like that. And that's the point. That was the moment I decided to continue follow the story. And then there was a date set for trial. And then I would say, like, we spent a lot of time with Ying's family. And in the first 5 months, I would say like the 70% of the time we spent with them was without camera. And we were just, staying there, helping them. And the more time we spent with them, the more we learned about who Yingying was. And at that time, we started to think about, an idea about maybe we can make something for Yingying. Because I would say like a lot of news media, they were really like focused on the crime, the investigation. And, if you read the headline, it's always an Illinois man, blah, 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 blah. But they barely mention Yingying, or even mention Yingying because of the language barriers. They couldn't really know her, because I'm Chinese. I knew better than local media, American media. So we were thinking about maybe we can make something for Yingying. And we just decided to follow the family and to see, what their journey was, and also to see how much we could know Yingying. And I would say like the film title, Finding Yingying, there are 2 meanings. One is really follow the family's journey to find her. And the other one is really about who Yingying was. And I'm so glad that, just like you mentioned, after watching the film, you just realized how wonderful Yingying was as a person. And what's such a loss, she was gone, and see all the impact, her loss on everyone.
Yeah. Yep. And the fact that you had those diaries, that really made her come alive. And I like the fact that you decided to read it yourself, because you probably weren't very far away in age, and you're both from China, came to America. It made perfect sense. Um, and I also like the fact that you did not show the perpetrator. I mean, I think the only time we really see him is the sort of the back of his head when from the police videotape of the interrogation, um, which I think it was just right because we want to know her. We don't want to really know him. We know he was you know psychotic, and that's too bad for him. But your film is about her. And I went online afterwards and looked at some YouTube videos, and the journalist went to his parents' house and interviewed his parents, and um, it's just like, well, do we really care? I mean, yes, we want to understand where this comes from in people when it happens, but we really want to know about Yingying, and that's what your film does so well. So there were a couple of things that, since you're talking about the filming, I wanted to mention, and maybe Brent or Shilin can jump in, but there were a couple of moments, like I'm sure people have mentioned this before, the scene where the boyfriend is walking by, I guess, her dorm in China, her old dorm, and there's a wounded bird on the sidewalk, and he picks it up and sort of cares for it, and I guess it sort of maybe dies in his hands, and he buries it there. And this came just at the moment when I think the trial was in that 1 or 2 year delay. Was that something that you were just lucky and you happened to be filming that day that happened?
Yeah, that shoot was happened in 2018. So the trial was in 2019. So when after the family went back to China, I also went back to China to spend some time with them and to really see, how their life has been changed because of Ying, she went missing. And I think that was maybe the second or third day I visited Ying's boyfriend, and he was just showing us, the places Ying used to work and used to live. And it was all of a sudden we just heard something hit the window, and then we realized that it was a bird. And I think Xiaoling, he was trying to calm the bird down, but ultimately, I think in the film we cut it down, but it was a while. So the bird basically, it was dead at that time, and the Xiaoling, he buried it without any hesitation. And I think at that time I didn't think much about why he's doing this or what does this scene mean to the whole film, but we just capture everything. And later on it's more like a metaphor, so it really feels like because Xiaoling, he couldn't bury Ying Ying, and now he's burying the bird. And there's a saying in China, fallen leaves returns to their roots, and it's always the family's hope to bring Ying back, even part of her remains, but that's that's always their goal. And in this film, in this moment, in the middle of waiting for the trial, that really see the deep, the deep side of Xiaoling, what he really wanted to do.
Hmm. And the other scene was the parents and the fight that they have, and that almost felt like just that well, it felt like a lot of just it felt real and true, and you could tell that they let you into their house, they trusted you, you were not there to judge, but your camera was on, and it was clear that they had some problems. And I guess one question is, are they still together after this? Because I think the father at one point says, if we don't find her, or the mother says, if we don't find her, I'm leaving. And that was heartbreaking too. But the fact that you were able to capture that, I mean, technically I'm interested, did you just have one camera there, or was it you and someone else who was shooting that also?
So we have a second camera there, and like two girls. We just staying with the family, and I would say Ying's parents, they're so nice, and they really treated us as their own children. So they would take care of our like everyday like meals, things like that. And I think they were really, relaxed in front of us. So they sometimes, when you are surrounded by like the press, sometimes you need to like put on a face. But Ying's parents, they are really, treat us like their family. So that's how we were able to capture the moment. Actually, I think part of the footage you saw was shot by another camera because I ended up to basically stop the fight. So I was in the shot at some point, but we just cut it because I don't want to be too much in the film. And yeah, so that's basically how about what happened in the scene. And now the family, the parents, they are still together. And Ying's brother, he's having his own family right now. He has a baby. So for them, I would say like, a little baby, maybe that would be, something hopeful for the family, especially the mom. She really liked to take care of, she really wanted a grandchild. That was also her hope for Yingying, taking care of Ying's children one day. And now Ying's brother is having a baby. So I hope, that will be something, helpful for the family. But anyways, they are still together, trying to get through this together. Yeah.
Of course. Yeah. I think the mom does mention at one point that she wanted a grandchild from Yingying, or maybe it was the son. But Brent, I wanted to ask you, at what stage did you get involved? Jenny said you were her teacher for a class at Northwestern. Is that right?
Yeah. So I was Jenny's professor for a documentary production class, and the film, she actually started filming in the class. So there's a short student version of this film, which really impressed me, and I think Jenny's ability and Shilin's ability to really gain the family's trust, and really kind of explain what they were doing, and almost really become sort of insiders, almost become like family members, I thought was pretty incredible and really unusual for a story like this to have this kind of access and to be this close. So after Jenny graduated, so like I said, there was this short version of the film. The trial kept getting delayed, so I came on as a producer to help develop the film into a feature length and to cover the trial.
I see. And Shilin, how about you? You're listed as a co-producer, cinematographer. At what stage did you and Jenny start working together with the cameras?
So it was at the very early stage. So it was like 2 or 3 days after we heard that Ying went missing. I was at the campus, being as one of the volunteers. And first, I started working with Ying's colleague to find where she was and sending out the posters. And then I read a message on the WeChat group from Jenny saying that she's, willing to document and trying to help the family to document everything. And then I thought, oh, maybe we can work together because I'm good at filming. So we worked together, and then we start following Ying's route in Urbana-Champaign, and then we started, filming everything. Because when I first heard this, the first day I got into the campus of U of I was also a U of I student, and also got into a car from a grad student at the campus. He offered me a ride, but luckily, he was a good guy, not a criminal. So I really empathized with what Yingying was experiencing, and the cultural differences and the kind of disconnection as a foreigner when you first got here. So when I'm filming, it echoes in my heart a lot. So that's why I was passionate and keep working in this project.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, of course, it's much more difficult for a woman, especially a young woman, to, sometimes defend herself. But I guess one thing I was just thinking about, Jenny, was there any indication of what, if when she was taken from his car into his apartment? Were there any witnesses? That's one thing that I kept thinking about. And were there any witnesses in his apartment building that heard anything?
So I think based on what has been shown in the court, there wasn't any, I mean, other than the surveillance tape, showing the initial image of he, basically picked her up and they
Right.
disappeared. So, and they pretty sure, she got into his car and he was the person who picked her up. And then there's no witness. So how she got, into the apartment, there's no witness. But inside the apartment, there are numerous forensic evidence. So there are like blood, things like that, and handprint, footprint, things like that. So, 100% Ying was, and there was like her DNA. So 100% she was.
Of course. Yeah.
Yes, there.
Yeah.
And I mean, she does fight him too. I mean, I think it's gruesome, but in a way, there's something heroic about that. She, fights for her life and tries to fight him off, and until the sort of last moment. The killer does try to kidnap someone else before her, so she's the second person, and the person that he tries to kidnap doesn't get into his car, calls the police. Why the police didn't sort of respond to this, I'm not sure.
Yeah, that was unfortunate. But it's such an emotional movie, really. It's I guess turning towards the filmmaking and the process of making it. When did you start to look for financial support and look for production support from Cardam Quinn? Is that the way you say it? Cardam Quinn?
Cartan
Cartan-Quinn. Oh,
yes.
Emphasis on the second syllable. Cartan-Quinn.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
When did you? That's Steve James's company, correct, in Chicago?
He worked. I think collaborated with Cartan-Quinn on several films.
Oh, okay. I thought he founded
Yes.
Cartan-Quinn. Okay. Anyway, great company. How did you become involved with them? And also, it looks like you got some backing from MTV. How did that come together? Was that more after you finished shooting, or did you obviously needed support during the shooting for your trips to China? How did that come together?
Yeah, so I was a fellow of Cartan-Quinn's Diverse Voices in Documentary program in 2018. So that was the year I graduated, and I was very lucky to be part of the program because they provided a lot of workshops about how to write your grant, how to edit your demo, and how to pitch your project to financiers and distributors. So I really developed my skills in 2018 while I was still filming. So I started filming in 2017 with Shilin, and our last shoot was in late 2019. So basically we were filming all the time, but at the early stage, we basically took money out of our own pocket, tried to cover everything, and we were, cinematographers. So we are just paying, covering the traffic and not really paying ourselves, doing it in our spare time, basically. And then after I became a fellow of Cartan-Quinn's Divid program, I met Diane Kwan, who's the other producer. She's not here today. So basically meeting Diane really helped me to connect the project to a larger stage, I would say, because we were lucky to get into some programs or forums like TFI networks at Tribeca Films and also at Sundance Summit. So that's where we met a lot of financiers and investors. I mean, it was really difficult. I mean, for all the documentary filmmakers to find money. Yep. And even though getting into these programs, we didn't really find enough, money to continue the project. Especially we moved into post-production because we need to hire editors and all the color, sound, all these kind of stuff. We can't really pay them, just by ourselves. So we have two work in progress screenings with our Chinese communities. And we have many people donated to the film because they really believe in the project, believe in the story, and believe in the message we want to convey. So we had huge support from Chinese community. And we also find private investors who invested this project. And that's, I think, the majority funding came from. And in terms of distribution, I think Diane helped us made great connection with some like sales agents, and we were lucky to work with CAA and Submarine. So they helped us to talk to distributors after the film premiered. I mean, after the film was supposed to premiere at South by. So that's how we finally, find the film for Yingying at MTV. And we are so grateful that so many people just, supporting us along the way. And I would say, like, for Shiling and I, we are first-time filmmakers. And we just basically really grateful. And Brent, he was my professor at that time, and he just continued, supporting me. It's been over 3 years, and we never thought about, it's gonna be a successful film. I mean, for me, more people like watch the film, like the more successful it becomes. And I think my dream just came true. And I just really grateful for everything. Yeah.
So will it be shown on MTV or where is it being distributed after your festivals?
So far, we don't have a specific plans. We are still, in conversation with them to figure out like when, like what dates will be released. But I think with their help, at least in the festival run, we can really, creating buzz around the film and really to get more people to basically hear Ying's story, see her story. And that's our ultimate goal, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Great. So I guess, I'd like to know a little bit about the initial reactions of the people that you showed the first rough cut to, and who those people were, and was that the thing that made them get involved and help you finish?
I think we have, like, I think we showed a lot of cuts to different people. And one major screening, work in progress screening, was at Cartoon Films. So that was a screening with filmmakers in the Chicago area. And that cut was like pretty long, like 2.5 hours, I would say. And there were a lot crime. Because at that time, we were still trying to figure out how much crime we want to tell and how much Ying stories we want to tell. For me, the priority is always Ying, but we want to make sure that the audience know the basic facts of what happened. And since, they've been extensively covered by the media, so we want to make sure like audience can see that. So people's response, I think they saw this film as, like, with a lot of potential, because the strong materials we have, the powerful scenes we have it was there, and it's just a matter of how we put them together. And after that work in progress screening, we basically cut a lot of crime and really focus on narrative, really focus on Yingying. And in terms of, we also invited some of our potential investors there. And basically they were, after they watched the film, they are even more clear about what they want to do. They really want to support the film. So for us, we were just really happy. Yeah.
Sorry, when you say you cut a lot of crime, is that what you said? You cut a lot of the crime element of the story?
Yes. I think at first we had more Brent Christensen, even though I think at a very, very early stage, we even have like court evidence in the film. But now the final version, we didn't see any of them. And even for the recording, we really want to focus on Yingying. So it was all about, it's all about how hard Yingying fought for her life and not really focus on the perpetrator. So that's how we, the process we made the decision.
Yeah. That was a good choice. I mean, it really works, and it makes it different from, you know, a TV documentary, a news documentary. This is a personal story. It's intimate, and you know, it's heartbreaking enough on its own without having to see the guy. And I'm glad you did that. Um, so what is your, do you have, I mean, you're probably still working on trying to get this out there and get it, as many people to see it as possible, but I'd love to hear from each of you, you know, if you're looking towards other projects now.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I came here as a Chinese international student, so I always like pay attention to what's going on in our community. And like recently, because of the China-US tension, there's a lot going on in the Chinese student, international student community, and also basically Chinese Americans in the US. So I'm doing some research on that, and hopefully, can create something about that. And I'm also interested in women's rights in China. And as a female filmmaker, that's also something I'm passionate about.
Great. And Brent, what are you working on?
So I'm working on two very different projects. One that's looking at Chinese expansion into Pakistan and minority groups actually fighting back against China. And I'm working on another film in Yemen that's looking at cultural heritage and a archaeologist working to save it. I'd made a previous film about Afghanistan. So those two projects.
Wow, great! You get around worldwide. And Shilin, what are you? I mean, this was your first project. Are you still in school? Are you looking to stay in the film business, or don't you know yet? Or
yeah, I'm about to graduate just after this fall, and I'm doing research into the subject of industry and manufacturing shift, because before it was from US to China, and now it's from China to other countries. So I'm very interested in this cultural and economic shift around the globe of how people are starting from, veering towards globalism to more inclusive themselves, and how people view each other, in not even in jobs, but also education. As you know, the Chinese or international students are recently about to be taken away or driven away from the US. So I'm more interested in how, people in a different era now is about to face what they're dealing with.
oh, good. Is that potentially for a film project?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, great. Well, you must have seen American Factory. It's kind of
Yeah.
about that issue in some ways. Great. Well, this has really been a good conversation, and thank you all for joining me. And thanks again for Tallgrass. I almost said Telluride. Thank you to Tallgrass for hosting again. And I hope everybody will enjoy as many of these films as possible, because the programmers at Tallgrass know what they're doing, and I think you'll find that this is a wonderful film, and I'm sure there are others as well. So I guess, is there anything else anybody would like to say before we close off? Anything we haven't touched on?
Maybe really, really quick. I just hope when people see the film that they, don't feel like they're watching, a Chinese story, but feel like they're watching something that they feel, a deep empathy for. I think that was really important to me, that that the film celebrates Yingying, that really humanizes her and really breaks stereotypes. And we never imagined we'd be releasing the film when there was so many negative stereotypes about Chinese people, about international students. We're kind of in this perfect storm of awful stereotypes. So I think we all really hope that that's a big takeaway, that the audience can, the film breaks these stereotypes, that the audience really sort of falls in love with Yingying and sees how incredible that she was, and it breaks these stereotypes about Asian Americans, about immigrants, about international students. I hope that's a takeaway.
Mm. Well, I mean, I think, me personally, one of the things I think of as stereotype of Chinese students is that they are like Yingying, very hardworking and sincere, and that's in a good way, I guess. But yeah, I mean, there are so many films, and it's hard to get your particular story out there to people. But this is an emotional story, and it's a story about a crime. I think that's a great tag because people love crime stories in the beginning. But your central character, even though you don't have her alive in the film, you had the great challenge of making her come alive, and that's a difficult thing to do. So congratulations on that, and congratulations to you all, and please make more good films, and we hope we'll see you again.
All right, thank you so much.
Thanks,
you.
everybody.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.